Welcome everyone to this wonderful event. We have gathered here to celebrate our fellowship program and introduce the winners of the new cohort. The genesis of the fellowship program goes back to the early years of the coalition itself. The program has a vision to develop a global multidisciplinary pool of professionals who will help shape a resilient future for global infrastructure systems. In addition to a 12-month seed grant, the CDRI fellowship also provides peer learning and capacity development, opportunities to foster transformative, actionable, and scalable solutions for real-world issues related to disaster resilience of infrastructure. I am Arigna Mitra, a young professional with the CDRI Secretariat, and I'm honored to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for this session. And it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Ms. Aishwarya Pillai. Ms. Pillai is currently leading lead publications at CDRI. She anchors learning initiatives such as the CDRI Fellowship Program and coordinates the ongoing development of CDRI's digital stakeholder and learning platform, DRI Connect. With her expertise and guidance, we are sure to have an engaging and informative session. So let us give a warm welcome to our moderator for this evening, Ms. Aishwarya Pillai.
Thanks so much, Arigna. Thank you so much for your kind words. It's been an absolute pleasure to be part of the fellowship almost ever since I joined CDRI. I think it's one of those very special initiatives that I also feel personally very warmly about. And so this session, and over this 1 hour, we try to be as brief as possible. You get to meet the cohort. You get to meet the people who select. As they say, it takes a village to grow a child, to bring up a child. So we'll meet the villagers or the village community that helps curate this great pool of fellows. And without much ado, I would give it to Amit, our Director General, to give a few words on what he feels about the fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you, Aishwarya. I think you said it well. It takes a village, and this is our village, but also the people that we're going to be hearing from and listening to today. In a few minutes, you'll see a video. It's actually inspiring because you're hearing from individuals who are spending their time thinking, researching, breaking the barriers of the front line of what needs to be done. And CDRI has been really proud to actually support this work. So we've actually by now, in the last 2 years, we've supported 2 cohorts, which is 77 individuals in 15 member countries. And this year, so part of what you'll hear is the second cohort sharing what they're doing. So it's really important to sort of just listen, get a flavor of all of the different variety of things that are going on under the fellowship program in different parts of the world. And then the next moment will be when we'll actually be announcing the 3rd cohort. So very, very exciting for the people who are not only getting our support, but also will be getting our support and who've already received our support, who are starting to become our brand ambassadors. I mean, this is a community of fellows who are not only working with us, but we're working with each other as well. So I'm really excited to see the film and then who is selected for the next part. And I'm not going to keep talking more. Let's have the film and then we'll come back.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Building resilient and future-ready infrastructure requires investing in innovative and actionable solutions today. Through its fellowship program, CDRI has been nurturing a multidisciplinary community of professionals exploring solutions to strengthen infrastructure resilience in the face of an increasingly uncertain future. CDRI's commitment to promote diversity and inclusion through its initiatives is exemplified through this pool of 77 fellows from 15 member countries across the globe. The first cohort of CDRI fellows completed their fellowships last year, yielding a rich range of potential solutions and knowledge outputs. The second cohort of CDRI fellows, comprising teams from across 12 countries, are on the cusp of completing their projects. Presenting Cohort 2022-23 of CDRI Fellows.
Greetings from Vancouver, British Columbia. I want to thank CDRI for supporting my project, Constructed Wetlands for Wastewater Treatment Plant Resilience. Essentially, my project looks at the increasing duration, frequency, and intensity of storm and flooding events that have the potential to overwhelm current wastewater treatment capacity, depositing untreated and partially treated wastewater into our local environments. My solution proposes that including constructed wetlands at the end of our treatment chains have the potential to reduce this exposure and prevent contamination in our local waterways. So thank you so much. It's an honor to be in this cohort.
The target of our research group is breach score detection during rising water. Breach score has been recognized as a global problem, partly due to extreme weather conditions in recent years. Our research group has installed accelerometers on breach piers and constructed a remote sensing system. A probabilistic method has been proposed as a damage detection method, and an original method to estimate the score depths by numerical simulation is being developed in the CDRI project.
Natural hazards not only affect human life but also infrastructures. For better management of funds, we need to find out the treatment required for every structure, that is, repair, rehabilitation and reconstruction. For this project, we are working on a novel tri-breed approach using high-resolution satellite data, UAV data and ground truth. For that, using these data, we then find out a comprehensive disaster damage rating. With that rating, we then propose a financial decision framework for better management of funds. The CDRI Fellowship Program is helping me with continuous domain support, guidance and funding.
This is Belén de Mesón speaking on behalf of the CASA team. We are grateful to be part of the 2022-2023 Fellowship Cohort with a proposal for a water collection, storage and treatment system in a floating community space in the Peruvian Amazon. We work on a system in which the rain is captured by the roof and solar panels are used to provide energy for pumping water. The water is stored in pipes that can be modulated and adapted to different needs. We focus on amphibious settlements, those that are either floating or on stilts. How to create infrastructures that deliver water and sanitation and collective spaces in this context. Thank you, CDRI, for the opportunity.
Inadequate hydraulic design of bridges leads to their getting washed away due to large floods, and over-design results in excessive cost of construction. A comparative study has been carried out using the conventional methods of design flood estimation and the L moment space frequency analysis. The robust identified design floods have been used in carrying out hydraulic modeling for the bridge site, considering the impact of climate change, using the data of some of the GCMs, and a methodology for flood resilient hydraulic design of bridges exposed to climate change is being developed with the support of CDRI in data procurement and hydraulic modeling.
Hello everyone. As CDRI fellow, me and my team, we are working for evaluation of cyclonic disaster resilience of healthcare infrastructure in Bangladesh, a special comparison with Japan. Here we are trying to develop a methodological approach which is very easy, non-technical and non-engineering approach. Here we are also evaluating healthcare resilience of coastal healthcare infrastructure in Bangladesh. With this approach, we do hope that policymakers and decision makers will be able to assess the resilience level, and based on that they can do budget allocation and action planning that will enhance resilience. Thanks CDRI for this support.
I would like to thank CDRI for giving us this fellowship, and our systems is equally susceptible to climate change, and this fellowship is a timely intervention to build our research capacity locally. Through this research, we have learned that irregular rainfall and the rise in temperatures are the two main climate variables, which triggers the cascading threats to the power system like landslide, tropical cyclone. We have identified the climate-induced threats, its impact, and vulnerabilities of power system, which are the key baseline inputs to come up with the power system resilience framework of Bhutan through this fellowship. Thank you.
Engineered timber are used to build the mass timber building, such as CLT and cross-laminate timber. The strength of these engineered timbers are depend on the bond strength of adhesive. During the fire exposures, adhesives fail, and which is cause the significant delamination, significant failure of the building columns. Therefore, this CDRI funded fellowship aim to develop fireproof epoxy resin based on the natural material, which improve the fire performance and structural stability. Thank you.
My team belongs to R&D Center in Nippon Koei, which is the number one consulting firm in Japan. In this research, we are tackling one of the challenging decision-making problems in the disaster management. You know, transportation bridge is not an independent entity, rather a part of the whole transport network. Therefore, we must consider not only the technical aspect, but also social aspect. To achieve this goal, we are integrating structural engineering and transportation engineering principles. Through collecting field data and the mobile positioning data, we have developed bridge damage model and the traffic simulation model. The outcomes of this research will be presented through the resilience triangle. By considering the resource limitation, a policymaker can decide the best strategy for their city. Thank you, CDRI.
With the CDRI Fellowship, I investigate the resilience of power grid infrastructure to hurricanes. All the consumers receive power from main grid. However, extreme weather events such as hurricanes disrupt the power supply. So my project focuses on two parts. First part focuses on emergency response system, where we deploy machine learning methods to identify the location and number of power outages. The second part focuses, can we use solar energy as backup power during outages? This project aims to leverage the global investments in cleaner energy towards enhancement of grid resilience.
Hello everyone. The title of our research project is Machine Learning Based Unified Seismic Vulnerability Prediction Model for the Heritage Minarets of India. National treasures such as historical minarets should be preserved and restored. Seismic excitation poses a significant threat of the collapse to these minarets. For example, Dharhar Minar in Kathmandu collapsed during the Nepal earthquake in 2015. In addition, the majority of India is vulnerable to seismic activities. This calls for an evaluation of heritage minarets in a big way. We selected 4 minarets in various seismic zones to develop a seismic risk prediction model. We utilized non-destructive testing and vibration testing to create a numerical model for minaret response evaluation and machine learning model. This study's finding will aid in formulating a strategy for the minaret's repair and retrofit and to evaluate the structural integrity. I appreciate CDRI for allowing us to carry out these research studies. Thank you.
Risk of transportation systems to natural hazards generate important socioeconomic impacts to vulnerable territories and populations, especially in exposed rural areas. However, these impacts are rarely accounted in the management and financing of rural road networks. Our research will propose resilience guidelines based from the outcomes of a case study in central Chile. Analysis of social vulnerability and risk of exposed road network to multiple natural hazards are being considered. CDRI Fellowship has given the opportunity to extend knowledge on rural roads resilience and communicate outcomes for potential applications worldwide.
Heavy rain and hurricanes cause road collapse that results in life-threatening catastrophes and road closure. The rapid rise in pore water pressure can be the major root cause. However, the mechanisms that initiate and propagate the failures and real-time condition monitoring are yet to be studied. In our research, we propose a distributed optical fiber-based sensor system that can acquire data throughout a road for a long distance, which is incapable of existing discrete sensing systems. Performance of the monitoring system will be proven through laboratory experiments and using a physical model replicating a road exposed to heavy rainfall.
Hi, my name is Robin. My CDRI Fellowship project is on nature-based solutions for resilient infrastructure. With CDRI funding, I'm developing a decision-making tool to enable practitioners to evaluate the effectiveness of nature-based solutions for reducing the risk of hazards on infrastructure. For example, as you can see here, I'm looking at the potential for forests to reduce river flooding on road networks in Jamaica. I'm very grateful to CDRI and the input of the 2 technical experts along the way.
That was quite special because these are all crowdsourced videos. So, you know, the production quality might not be, but this is their sincere effort to share what they're doing. And now, before we step into, we have some fellows here that we've kind of invited to share the dais and talk about themselves. I'd like to also talk about the whole village bit, about how it takes a village. So this time we also had a third-party review of the fellowship. To recalibrate and sharpen its impact or its effectiveness. And we have Dr. Amir Bajaj in the audience. His team from IHS actually gave us great insights, even to the extent of helping find us some of the best proposals. So if you could please give Mr. Bajaj the mic. I'll get it. Yeah. Okay. So, sir, just your top line recommendation, or how was your whole experience of reviewing this program? What is it? What's the potential, or how did you see it? What are the?
I think it was something phenomenal.
Yeah. Is it working?
Yeah. Phenomenal is the word. I think the range of projects and the kind of insights that have been generated were quite out of this world. So I really enjoyed looking at the processes, the support systems that CDRI had created, the feedback mechanisms that were institutionalized. All of that like culminated in this high quality work that the fellows have been able to produce. I think amongst the many recommendations that I had made after reviewing the fellowship, one of the recommendations was that we have to just organize or think about a mechanism that allows them to present this work to a wider audience, because something that they have discovered in a particular context has relevance all over the world. So conferences like this and the other regional engagements that CDRI has could be leveraged as platforms to showcase all of this work. And I think there's a lot of potential in terms of getting all this work into the application side, into the real world, and this could alter the narrative on disaster resilient infrastructure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. And now we'll have the fellows please come up to the dais. Dr. Vasant Matsagar, he's from the first cohort. Ms. Deepa Srinivasan, again from our first cohort. Mr. Saurabh Gupta from IIT Kanpur, he's from the ongoing cohort. And Dr. Madhuvashita Herath from our ongoing cohort. Please come. And we'll also be joined virtually by a few fellows. So please take it. Sure. Sit. You need a mic there, I think. So do we know if someone's... Oh, great. So we have Ms. Robin Haggis from UK. We have Ms. Belen from Peru. And Mr. Namgay Tenzin from Bhutan. They're from the current cohort, the ongoing cohort. So I'm going to quickly ask a few questions. These are conversations, and we hope to kind of keep it as sharp as possible, isn't it? My first question is to you, Deepa, Saurabh, and Vasant. How has the fellowship helped you, in terms of both professional and personal growth, aside from the seed grant and all the support? How has it really opened up, avenues for you, etc.?
Thank you, Aishwarya. I'll sort of summarize in 3 points. One, the CDRI Fellowship has put me and my company on an international stage, and it's given us the experience to be associated with a reputable entity such as CDRI. In the US, we are sort of used to looking at things from a US perspective, and this experience has given me the insight of looking at things from a global perspective. So that's one. The second is that we are primarily a consulting organization, and I head the organization. So I'm also always in a leadership role. So this gave me an opportunity to get my hands dirty and actually work with a team of mentors from all over the world questioning me on what I was doing. So I found that extremely challenging. And I think we have turned, our company has turned into more of a research-based organization than we were in the past. And finally, my research has allowed us to take the project to the next level. So it's been a year since we graduated from CDRI. And the topic of my research was using machine learning and artificial intelligence in integrating plans for local governments. So in the past year, we have furthered this research into a product. We have developed a whole knowledge management system that is now marketable to all levels of government in the United States. So we have developed marketing materials. We have hired a salesperson to go out and market the product. We have furthered the technology. We have enhanced the ontology. And now we are applying for a grant from the National Science Foundation to take the research to the next level, to develop algorithms for not just critical infrastructure and emergency management, but for other areas as well. So, thank you.
Great, thanks. So what about you, Saurabh? You're the youngest, I think, in the whole lot. How is this helping you?
So, yeah, I tell you, I was 10 months back, I was on the other side of the stage and listening to the people from Cohort 1, and I must tell you...
Take your mic up.
Yeah. So I was thinking how my tenure gonna be for this thing, but I assure you that CDRI, it's just not a seed fund for the research. It's like changed a lot professionally in me and as the way of my working. First thing is like the technical support and other things which provided by CDRI is way beyond than I expected. They are like continuously in touch and helping me. Second thing is like it make me learn new things, like new models which I am developing using machine learning. It's make me learn those things. And third thing, as in academia, what I observe is there is a gap between industry and academia. So it helped me to cover up those things, that is a state of art versus state of practice. So this is helping me in this domain as well. And last one, I'll say that it is like continuously holistic development in term of like some of my work is now recognized by national and international forum. Like last month I had got a best poster award for my work, ongoing work, and this month I am presenting my work in EGU. So I think this is helping me professionally. Thank you.
That's great. Dr. Matsagar, you have the...
Yeah, thank you, Aishwarya. So there are four ways in which CDRI fellowship has helped me in my professional development. I would start with the first one, that is establishing some collaborative research networks with the overseas researcher. Yesterday, in one of the interactions, Kamal Kishorji has mentioned that the CDRI promotes the across the boundary collaborations, and it requires expertise from different groups so that they come together, because this problem itself is having multidisciplinary in nature. So that was the first front in which I have received a lot of support from CDRI fellowship. Secondly, being an academician, I was able to offer some of the projects which are again oriented towards multi-hazard infrastructure resilience. The third one, during the fellowship program itself, from the first cohort, I had received a grant in terms of a sponsored research project from one of the industry partners in this project. But subsequent to that, there are two more projects funded, one of them from Switzerland government and other from US government, which has helped us to find solutions for climate issues and the construction materials, which are much more environment friendly and reduce down the carbon footprint as such. And the last one, the fourth one, the most important one in my opinion, is to take this technology that we are developing through the CDRI fellowship and through this subsequent sponsored research project to actually real life implementation. A few minutes back, I have made a presentation in the Pechakucha where I have presented some of these projects, which are, some of them are already completed and some of them are ongoing, where we have been able to implement this solution that is developed through the CDRI fellowship in real life construction of hospital buildings, particularly in northeast part of India.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Masadak. That's great. And now I think I'll go to the virtual participants. Robin and Namge, and then I'll come to Vasant and Saurabh. How do you see your research contributing to the larger discourse on climate and disaster resilience of infrastructure in terms of you developing these actionable, scalable solutions. So I think, Robin, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm having a little bit of feedback, which is so my project really aims to develop a decision-making tool for resilient infrastructure, which decision makers can use in their real-life decision-making. So the idea is to outline key information for decision makers in different countries to use to help them assess different solutions, nature-based solutions, and compare them to built infrastructure options. So as mentioned in the video, it includes information on which nature-based solutions are applicable to mitigate different climate hazards, which are applicable to each infrastructure sector, and various cost and benefit information, including information on effectiveness. So the idea is that this tool really will help decision makers to think more systematically about nature-based solutions and the value of different nature-based solution options for resilient infrastructure. And then in terms of scalability, currently my data gathering has focused predominantly on 3 infrastructure sectors, so energy, water and transport. But there is potential to scale this more widely to different infrastructure sectors. And we're currently piloting the tool in Jamaica, and there's much more scope to scale this broadly across the world.
I mean, you've also been contributing to the biennial report, isn't it? Pillar 2, do you want to say something about that?
Yes, some of my work has been going into different reports, including one of CDRI's reports, which is a great opportunity to put this out more widely to help increase the uptake of nature-based solutions across the world.
Over to you, Mr. Namge. How is your work maybe? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ashwarya. Under the current CDRI project, we are working on the development of the disaster.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So under the current CDRI project, our team is working on the development of the disaster risk resilient framework for the Bhutan's power system network. Bhutan as a mountainous Himalayan economy highly dependent on the sale of hydropower. The power transmission infrastructures therefore are very vulnerable to the climate-induced hazards as mentioned in the video, such as landslides and flash floods. So the current research would enable developing technologies, models, designing resilience strategies, and integrate those climate variables, thereby improving the overall reliability of the power system network and also assessing the gaps in the current methods, especially looking into the critical power infrastructures. So in this project, we are trying to assess the existing power system network and try to come up with the framework for evaluating the risk management of the Bhutan's power system network. So that's it, Ashwarya.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tenzin. Thank you. Now I quickly because yeah.
So as a civil engineer and as an infrastructure manager and a researcher, what I believe is the more accurately you actually measure, the more efficiently you can manage. So where it comes in my project, where I'm trying to club different kind of data into one, and now presenting a DDR, that is disaster model, so that where you can effectively manage the different infrastructures. So the outcome or the expected outcome of the studies are the pre-processed data, because right now we have a variety of data, but there are limited pre-processed data, so that one can use it using a transfer learning kind of thing and take it as on their case studies with those learning. And secondly, the way if we monitor well, we can optimize fund in a way that we can plan our short-term and long-term strategies. So in this way, this work can help and can propagate to different regions, not even with India, and with other regions as well. And that's what we call it capacity building. Yeah. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks. So either Dr. Herath or Dr. Matsagar, if you want to take the question about how it's contributing, because we heard from you. Please go ahead.
Okay, one issue that I was discussing during my initial response was some of these projects which were awarded to us. In that, we are trying to find solutions on sustainable construction materials, and particularly from the climate change viewpoint. So to be very specific, we are trying to find some alternative construction materials for the carbon heavy materials such as cement and concrete made out of it, as well as steel reinforcements. So through these projects, we are trying to see if we can replace the carbon heavy steel materials by using some natural fibers and biocomposites. So that is our ongoing work. And nevertheless, when we are using these kind of new materials, they are resilient not only against the conventional hazards such as earthquake or wind, they also are more vulnerable to exposure to fire. And again, we are carrying out those investigations as to how resilient they are against the fire. Eventual goal would be to have them seen real life in the constructions and adopted in place of the other conventional materials. So in a nutshell, we are trying to find deep technology solutions for new construction materials and resilient infrastructure from multi-hazard viewpoints.
Great. Thank you so much. So I'll now quickly talk about some of the challenges. This is great, but I think when you're working on your project, there are several factors that enable, and there are barriers as well, and you're all kind of dealing with it. So I'll go to Belen now. Belen, are you there? Can you tell us some of the challenges you face in implementation of your project? I mean, through our quarterly reviews, we do get to know, but for the larger world, I mean, what is it? How do you kind of overcome these barriers to?
Yes, can you hear me? We're working in the Amazon rainforest, where internet connectivity is an issue, and sometimes communication with our local partners is slow. And additionally, we are aware from the very beginning of the project that for it to be sustainable over time, it has to quickly be appropriated and put in use by users and maintained with public resources. So considering these situations, we try to travel frequently to the site to involve communities and the public sectors through the process so that we all become owners of both the project and the process. So this is achieved more easily with face-to-face conversations and workshops rather than Zoom meetings or WhatsApp messages. So it's being on site constantly and participating and exchanging with communities.
I want to add that Belen's, this is like a really unearthly time for her. It's around, is it 1 a.m. there, Belen?
1:30 a.m., yes.
So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I think that shows their, motivation. Quickly to Namge then, Mr. Tenzin, would you want to say what are the challenges you face in your project, and how you're transforming these or working around these?
Thank you. With regard to the on-ground implementation challenges of the research outputs, one of the primary human nature is that we resist changes. So the resistance to alteration, the technical intricacies involved, the scarce resources that are available, be it in terms of human resource or the capital resources, and the policy hurdles are some of the challenges on the implementation of the disaster resilience adaptation methods currently that we have foreseen in our study. So therefore, to transform these barriers into the opportunities, we see that if we involve stakeholders and make up a partnership with innovative and cost-effective approaches, so thereby coming up with the solutions which the power infrastructure companies or the beneficiaries are willing to adapt to change. This would enable the power system infrastructure to become climate resilient, or in other words, climate adequate, leading to disaster resilient infrastructures. So therefore, we feel that the stakeholder collaboration and the partnership development between the academia, the research institutes, and the beneficiaries are very important, as well as taking on board the policy makers. So this is what we feel.
Great, thank you so much. That's very, I'm linking the beneficiaries with your, research project. That's grounded truth in it. Dr. Herath, do you want to, you've kind of shared with us through these reviews the kind of challenges and how you overcame them. So would you like to share with the...
Thank you, Aishwarya. So good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you
You'd like to?
for inviting me to this fellowship session. Coming back to your question, so implementing the project in 12 months is quite challenging for us because research may take time. So however, we understand that urgent actions are required to combat climate change and disaster situations. So initially we had a few parallel activities in our project. So we had to rethink about our time plan to accelerate the project. So fortunately, we had a partner university in Australia. So we started parallel activities happening at both institutions at the same time. So it created us an opportunity to knowledge and technology transfer. Also, right now a master's student assisting this project in Sri Lanka is planning to visit the partner university. So it created an opportunity for the two universities to initiate an academic exchange program as well.
Wow, oh, that's great. That's a great opportunity. Fantastic. And now we come to something that's very close to the fellowship as well, how this has been a pathway for gender and inclusion. So, and now I'll turn to Deepa. How significant do you think such programs like the fellowship are in promoting gender responsive, inclusive approaches to resilience of infrastructure, which is still largely a male-dominated, sector, really, isn't it? So, how do you find these initiatives helping the cause?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question,
Yeah.
Aishwarya.
And I know it's dear to your heart. So
Gender and inclusivity is very dear to my heart, and I do a lot of talks on this. I will say that with the CDRI fellowship, I think the research can be a stepping stone to one's career. Also, the CDRI's Young Professional Program, where they harness young talent, where girls are sort of shown a career path right after they finish their bachelor's or master's. They work here for 2 years, and then you see a career path of either continuing at CDRI or working for another nonprofit or government or what have you. So I think the important thing here is to differentiate between careers and jobs. And when I say jobs, I'm talking about something that's less complex, more administrative, secretarial level, where people, they find a job to get a paycheck, and when they move forward in life or they get married or have a family, they drop the job. Whereas a career is something that you pursue despite everything you have going on. And it's up to us women to balance career and family. And, some of us have done it well, and I think it's for us to pave the way for, younger women to follow that path. The other thing I want to say is that it's important to start mentoring in schools, and that's an area that CDRI can look into. I mean, they're doing very well with young professionals, but what about girls in schools? And it's in the 8th or 9th or 10th grade where people are like, okay, I'll pursue this as a career, or I just won't take up any career. So I think it's really important to emphasize what they can be, and to emphasize to girls that you can pretty much be whatever you want if you put your mind to it. So that's the other important thing of looking at it at the school level. And finally, why is it important to have women in infrastructure? So let's talk about design. When men and women use infrastructure very differently based on their social and economic status. So men dominate infrastructure decision making, as we know. But guess what? They're targeting female users. So are they really understanding what female users need? So I'll give you an example. If you take transit or urban design, lighting is such a big factor to promote safety for women. The other thing is poor health infrastructure. Women don't have easy access to essential services. So these are pretty basic. And uncontrolled urbanization, which leads to targeting women for assault and stuff. So what we want to do is improve urban infrastructure with a gender perspective that would demand public lighting, safe public transit, toilets in every rural community, and help mitigate safety-related roles. So where men travel in more linear patterns, they go from home to work and work to home, women's travels are not linear. They're more non-work related. They travel with children, with the elderly. So taking all those things into perspective, and who better to design for women than women themselves? So, promoting, really pushing for women in infrastructure. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. So I think we'll quickly now, as female fellows, I will now throw this question, because we're running out of time, to Deepa, Belen, Robin. How has gender even been a factor? Has it been an enabler or barrier in designing and implementing your project? So since we are talking within this whole CDRI fellowship context, and if so, how have you navigated through these challenges posed by maybe, yes, gender bias in the field of infrastructure? So Belen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So as mentioned, despite working in a predominantly male field, the work we do is mainly focused on providing access to basic services and infrastructures of care or social infrastructures for vulnerable communities, particularly women and children that spend more time near the houses compared to men. So I'm very lucky to have a team with the same understanding that for the design to be successful, it must adapt and respond to particular lived experiences. So following a feminist approach, our work begins with an openness to listen and to recognize other people's worldviews and lived experiences as being equally valuable as our own knowledges and vital elements towards the design of localized and pertinent infrastructure and service delivery.
Great, thanks. Robert?
Yeah, so in terms of the tool itself, which I'm developing, gender wasn't a consideration in that respect, but from my experience of developing the tool itself, a large part of the design and implementation of it was desk-based, so again, gender less of a factor, but it did draw upon interviews which I undertook in person in Jamaica, and in that respect, I think I was perhaps more cautious traveling to Jamaica and being there as a woman on my own. But when I actually got there, I found everyone was very welcoming, respectful. All of the interviewees, both men and women, gave up their time very freely to take part in the interviews. So gender, again, was actually less of a barrier than I expected when I got there. And similarly, in terms of the infrastructure space, I definitely feel that I've been given equal opportunities compared to my male colleagues. I feel respected and the opportunity to be heard. But I'm very aware that my experience of gender so far probably does not reflect that of everyone. So I have other privileges. I'm a white woman from the UK working in a well-known institution, so Oxford University. When I went to Jamaica, I was seen as a foreigner and again representing Oxford University. So this is probably unlikely to be the same experience for other people as what I have had. And I think other things need to be taken into account along with gender, so issues such as race, disability and diversity, which are other systemic issues that need to be considered at the same time.
Great, thanks so much. Deepa, do you want to, and also Dr. Harith, if you have any experiences working with, and so in terms of inclusion also. Do you want to go first? We'll quickly,
sure.
yeah.
So I'll kind of take this question from a higher level.
Yeah.
Being in a field that's been dominated by men, I've had to constantly prove myself. Having the age barrier, having the gender barrier, and having the race barrier in the United States. So I believe that we have strengths. Women lead with empathy. We are multitaskers. We are great problem solvers. And those of us who are mothers, our creativity and endurance is put to test on like an hourly basis. So with all of these traits, I think we can bring those traits to the workforce and really excel in whatever we do in just about any field, whether it's technology, law, medicine, planning, you name it. So I'll throw out some statistics. A recent McKinsey study says that in the last year, 29% of women took a less demanding job. 32% of women in tech and engineering fields are often the only women in the room at work. And then women in technical roles, in 2018, there was a 1.9x difference between women and men in 2018. In 2022, it's a 2.5% difference. If this continues, women are going to drop out of the workforce like you will not believe. So, you know, one of the main reasons is that women feel like they're overworked and under-recognized. So I think it's up to all of us, women and men leaders, to make sure and set that right. So taking a word from Kathy's presentation earlier this morning, I think the word is urgency. I think the time is now and the place is here and the reasons are compelling. So I would give this challenge to each and every one of us in this room, starting tomorrow. Do what it takes and take a step forward on promoting women and making sure they progress, whether it's flexibility, whether it's understanding, whether it's giving them equal opportunity. I think every one of us has this compelling reason to do so. And I think we women in the workplace as leaders have to open the doors for other women to follow.
Great, thank you so much. I think, do you want to add a word, Dr. Hirath, and then we'll, yeah.
I believe that the
CDRI
fellowship is not limited to the faces that we see here as cohorts.
Yes.
Back of the stage, there are a lot of people supporting to implement these projects.
Yeah.
So if I take my project as an example, there is a research assistant and a technical officer, female research assistant and a technical officer actively engaged in our project activity. So at the end of the day, they learn or they enhance their knowledge and career perspectives on developing disaster resilient solutions. So that is one of the advantage of this fellowship program. Not limited to the cohorts, so there are many more people getting benefit from this from the fellowship program.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that was a very insightful conversation. Thank you, Robin, Belen, and Mr. Tenzin, for all your great, sharing of experiences, and we'll see you soon again. Thank you so much, Deepa, Saurav, Dr. Matsagar, Dr. Hirath, thank you so much. And now we'll have the village elders, the one who helped curate these fellows. So I'll call Professor Nishikawa and Professor Sinha to please come on stage, and I believe Professor Hall will be online as well. So this is the international jury that helps curate the selection of the fellows that we kind of hear from. So my question, I've very quickly, because I realized we're running out of time, I'm just hypnotized by that clock there. So Professor Hall, if you're there. Professor Hall, is he? He's there? Okay. Hello, Professor Hall. What time? Where are you right now? Are you in the UK or? I can see.
In Italy, actually, but I send you my regards.
Jump into the cohort announcement because the time is running out. So especially about the challenges you think or the opportunities in translating research into practice, what Saurabh also said, how to ground your project. So what do you think, with your experience of guiding this fellowship as a jury member, what are your thoughts about this whole?
Well, the CDRI is working in a space where there's enormous opportunity. There's a really great need for analysis of disaster resilient infrastructure, both analysis of the risks, the hazards, vulnerability, exposure, but then above all on what are the responses, how much might those responses cost, what are the co-benefits, how can they be implemented. The challenge is really providing actionable knowledge which can be used. There are many things which we could research in relation to disaster resilient infrastructure, but we really need to be looking for the things which are going to make a difference. And I think a really great challenge in that context is in terms of promoting uptake. is relationships with decision makers. And I think that's often a challenge for younger researchers who are in the CDRI cohort, but it's absolutely fundamental. If knowledge is going to be actionable, there has to be a strong relationship with decision makers so that we can understand decision makers' needs and provide the knowledge that will help them to make better decisions.
Hall for that. And so Professor Nishikawa and Professor Sinha, can you possibly share some thoughts? And I'd like to invite Kamalji and Dr. Benson, please. Please do join us on stage. I'm just looking at the ticker. It's just like ticking away. So, and we do need you on stage, please. Yes, Professor Nishikawa.
Yes, and it's my really great pleasure to be part of this jury. And I'm always excited to read through the proposals because I find new, I would say, challenges that are emerging in every part of the world regarding resilience. And I especially would like to emphasize the importance that these, I would say, fellowship programs really lead to actionable solutions on the ground. And that is the first step for us to open new ideas and to really reduce disasters and really improve the resilience of our communities. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Professor Sinha, how do you see the synergies with the larger, recently launched initiative, the IRACs? Because this is just like one stream, but now it might find a bigger home, or how do you see that happening? Do you see the synergies there? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I personally feel that it has really been personally a privilege for me to be associated with the fellowship program, to get an opportunity to really see such brilliant minds, what they have put together as a proposal and where they intend to go forward. Resilience is much talked about, much less practiced, and even less understood. So the fellowship program, I look at it as an opportunity for the fellowship program to create a cadre of people who are not just passionate about resilience, but who bring insight into the issue of resilience, which go far deeper than the current discourse seems to show. Because if we are going to make sustainable change and under an environment of limited resources and limited opportunities, then we need to have the people who have the understanding to differentiate what is a good idea and what is an effective idea. And the fellowship program inherently is intended to select people who seem to be making that differentiation in their proposal. So the fellowship program, all the 3 cohorts so far, from my point of view, are absolutely outstanding, brilliant, and I have seen with great pleasure that with the kind of mentoring and constant engagement provided by CDRI, not only are they overachieving, but also they are broadening their approach towards life and getting understanding of issues which otherwise they may not have got so quickly. So this is creating sort of an army of goodwill ambassadors who are willing to live the motto of resilience. So it's really been a privilege to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Sinha. And Dr. Benson, you've been instrumental in curating 2 of the cohorts. It's okay. And so now you've stepped back, but you're still an integral part of the jury. We won't let you go. It's like Hotel California. Once you're there, you can't. So what are your thoughts? What is your vision for the fellowship, really, you know, in terms of how you see it growing, evolving, you know, morphing into something else? Please.
Thank you very much. And first, I just want to thank you and the fellows for that really important conversation just now on the role of women in disaster resilient infrastructure. We need to continue ensuring that women are fully engaged because, of course, they have an equally important contribution to make. On the fellowship scheme, it was a great privilege to be involved in the scheme during those first 2 years. We saw a really rich and diverse range of applications to the scheme, covering many different types of natural hazard, offering different types of solution, many with very real practical value going forward. The gauge of success ultimately is, of course, the extent of uptake of the solutions that are being developed under the scheme. It was really great to hear, for instance, that example from India, where work is already contributing to building more resilient hospitals. And I would really hope that each and every fellow, both old and new, to be announced today and in future years, are encouraged and are able to really proactively look for opportunities to ensure that their work is taken forward, whether it's in building understanding of particular aspects of disaster risk in the context of particular areas of infrastructure, in monitoring hazards, in helping to increase the effectiveness, the affordability, the ease of access to green and grey solutions, to building community resilience, and so on. I understand that some of the fellows have already presented work in international conferences. They've had their work published in academic journals, and I think that really attests to the quality of the applications, the successful awardees, and I think bodes very well for the future that indeed the work will also be taken up with practical benefit. Yeah, I'd like to wish all the fellows the very best of luck on their onward journeys on resilience. I really hope it does not stop at the end of the fellowship period for any of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kamalji, will you speak now, or would you have to leave? So.
Thank you very much. I was asked to give a special message or an inspiring message. I think actually it is my turn to be inspired rather than inspire you, inspired by what I heard in the earlier segment of this discussion. So at the outset, I would like to congratulate all the fellows in both the cohorts. I am really amazed by the range of topics that people have been working on, from predictive modeling of the behavior of minarets, to scouring around bridges, to sensor-based monitoring, to risk finance, nature-based solutions, looking at safety of hospitals, looking at safety of shipping port and port towns. It's really a staggering breadth of diversity of projects that you're working on. It also shows us the variety of areas in which the engagement needs to take place if we have to advance our work on resilient infrastructure. I just have 3 points to make. The first is that I hope that the ambassadors will also, the fellows will also act as ambassadors of the program and reach out to their colleagues, their friends, their networks, and help us get an even broader pool of applications to choose from. In the first and the second cohort, if I remember correctly, we were not able to award the full number of fellowships that were available, because we don't want to award fellowships just for the sake of it. We really want the best, really most relevant, well-crafted proposals to be supported. So we'll really need your help in expanding the scope of the program in terms of the number of applications we receive. We would really want to be in a situation where we are, awarding the full number of fellowships every year. The second point I would make is that we have to continue to together explore ways of taking your own work to scale through different means, through our networks, through CDRIs, ongoing engagements, through engagements in your countries, how we can turn some of your ideas into action. even if a third of the ideas that people have been working on are actually implemented and taken to scale, that would be a big success. And my final point is that when we started this program, we had this vision, once a CDRI fellow, always a CDRI fellow. So that sense of community among the fellows is really important to be nurtured, and I hope CDRI Secretariat itself will help foster that spirit, keep the flock together, have a very thriving network, interaction among fellows. So wherever you are, you can connect, you can see how you can collaborate and how you can take the agenda of resilient infrastructure forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now we have two quick recorded messages from the jury members who couldn't be here, Ms. Marjorie Green and Ms. Dipali Khanna, who just joined the jury in place of Dr. Benson. She is the Vice President, Asia Region of Rockefeller Foundation. So can you please play their messages?
Greetings, everyone. I'm Dipali Khanna, Vice President at the Rockefeller Foundation, and I lead the Asia operations. My apologies that I could not join you in person today, but it is my honor to share this message. I'm truly inspired by the work that is being led by CDRI, and especially grateful to join the August panel of jury members for the fellowship. I'm thrilled to have been a part of this prestigious process where we had the opportunity to review so many outstanding applications from individuals who truly committed to making a real difference in the world. As we look to the future, the work of the CDRI Fellows will be more important than ever. The challenges facing our world today are immense, from climate change and inequality to conflict and global health crisis. But we also know that there's incredible potential for positive change, and that the individuals recognized here today are at the forefront of that movement. Each of the CDRI Fellows has demonstrated a deep commitment to their chosen field and a unique ability to think creatively, act strategically, and inspire others. You've dedicated your lives to making a difference, and we are here to celebrate your achievements and support your ongoing work. To the ones that are being awarded today, I want to say congratulations on this well-deserved recognition. You've already accomplished so much, and I can't wait to see what you will achieve in the years to come. Your work is truly an inspiration to us all, and I'm grateful for your contributions to a better world. To the audience, I want to encourage you to support the work of these incredible individuals. Together, we can make opportunity universal and sustainable. Thank you.
Now we have a message from Ms. Marjorie Green.
Hello, my name is Marjorie Green. I'm a member of the International Jury. It's been my pleasure to be involved as this program has evolved from its inception a few years ago. It's now receiving more and more proposals targeted at thematic areas that are of importance to CDRI's mission. This is a growing network. There are now 77 professionals from 15 different countries who are learning from each other as they participate in the program and actively participating in the program even after they've graduated as fellows. It's been very rewarding to watch this network grow into an important body of professionals who can serve as global ambassadors for climate and disaster resilient infrastructure. I want to welcome those of you who have been selected for this year's fellows into this important network.
And so we finally come to the moment we've all been waiting for. Thank you so much for your patience and for being there. We'll now announce the winners of the 23-24 edition of the fellowship program. Can we have the slides, please? So what's heartening is now we have more female-led teams, Dr. Benson, and we have a great diversity. So that's something that's we're really excited about. Yes. Yes. Professor Nishikawa, do you want to go first?
So it's my great honor to announce the next cohort of the fellowship program. First, we have the team from Turkey. The names are, I'll read their first names, Ken, Ali, and Wilfred. The second team is...
No, now we'll play their video. So,
okay. Yeah, okay.
We had two devastating earthquakes in 1999 in Kocaeli province. Our proposal here is we would like to risk assessment for the hospital buildings in the Kocaeli province and to make them ready for a future devastating earthquake in the region.
I'm also very pleased to announce the next awardee from Madagascar, Fenosoa Ramai Ramana from Madagascar as a fellow of the CDRI fellowship program.
Involving local communities in flood management will help people to take action in their daily lives and policymakers to make the right choices to achieve transformation change. With the support of CDRI, we'll be able to make the work more effective for the policy and in the real community.
Okay. Now, the next team is from Brazil, Mariana and Bruna.
This solution could be a sustainable and a feasible alternative for developing infrastructure in the Amazon. This fellowship will enable us to fund the lab-based research, plus being a CDR fellow will give us a better chance of having a global impact. It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
The next awardee is from Mauritius, again sole woman awardee, Manta Devi Novbooth.
I believe she's here.
Several types of sustainable urban drainage systems are going to be simulated using a hydraulic model. The focus would be on the time to peak and the peak flow rate. And subject to the results, this study can be upscaled to cover other catchments over the island, thus promoting flood management using nature-based solutions. Thank you.
Manta Devi is right there in the audience, so do you want to wave to? Yeah, congratulations. Yes.
Okay, the next team is from Bhutan, Tongli and Yoon Steng.
There is no digital landslide risk map and landslide database for Bhutan, despite the fact Bhutan faces severe landslide during the monsoon season. The development of mobile app will help in uploading and downloading the time series landslide data. The decision makers and individuals can locate their position with its landslide risk zone for construction and decision making purposes.
The next awardee is from India, a team of Mir Sumira and Pir Jelani.
Through this project, we intend to fill the knowledge and awareness gap in the fragile mountain geographies. CDRI will support us in strengthening resilience and institutionalizing the practice of collaborative research on a global scale.
Okay. The next team is from the Dominican Republic, Nicholas, Jennifer, and Pamela.
1. We seek to identify reinforced concrete constructions near the coast, built without a cause and with a seismic code. 2. We seek to contribute to the knowledge the scientific community, contribute to the care of the environment, and propose a low-cost energy dissipator to mitigate the seismic effect.
The The next awardee team is from India, consisting of Priyanka Jamwal and Durba Biswas.
This tool will allow multiple stakeholders to readily identify appropriate IWRM solutions which will significantly impact the environmental and human health outcomes at school. The CDRI fellowship will enable us to fill in the information gap regarding the existing water management practices at school.
Okay, the next awardee is from India by Manabendra.
This tool will be the first of its kind to have a single API which will be able to accept data from citizen scientists using multiple verticals such as mobile applications and chatbots, as well as near real-time flood inundation using synthetic aperture radar data. Because this citizen science work involves a lot of public participation, CDRI Fellowship's reach and network will be tremendously helpful in making this project a success. Thank you.
The next awardee team is from Bangladesh, consisting of Mohammad Mansoor Rahman, Mohammad Rahayur Rahman, and Mohammad Manjurul Hussain.
In this regard, can assess the status of the critical infrastructure against a real-time cyclone, very much essential at the pre-disaster and post-disaster recovery phases for resident community. The fellowship helps us to apply the CCM in a particular cyclone-prone community and disseminate its results with the policy level to make community more resilient in the future.
Awardee is from Nepal. The awardee is Rocky.
I aim to utilize Earth observations and several data fusion machine learning techniques to evaluate spatiotemporal variation of temperatures. This fellowship would help me connect with other researchers working in similar topic for better insights.
The next team is a multi-country team consisting of members from India and Bangladesh, Samir Deshkar, Shreya Joshi, Rajashri Kodharkar, Bijon Kumar Mitra, and Makarand Lokhande.
Process for food and energy security at a regional scale is crucial and is established further through this particular project. The CDRI fellowship will enable us to identify effective mechanisms for implementation of agrivoltaics through not just policy and finance, but also by considering adaptability at the local scale and urban-rural partnerships.
Okay, the next team is a joint team from Bangladesh and India. It's Sohel, Subrajat, and Ramkrishna.
In the proposed solution, we are trying to develop a model for community-level resilience analysis, considering baseline functionality of buildings with critical infrastructure systems. For example, road networks, water distribution systems, electrical power network systems. The resilience will be assessed under the climate-induced cyclonic hazards.
Next team is from Italy, Marco Redielli, Elena Aioriati, Rodolfo Rani, and Velio Coviello.
The early warning system is based on the detection of ground vibration and infrasound by means of low-cost and low-energy consumption sensors. With the fellowship, we want to provide two practical tools that can be used in any region affected by debris flows.
Okay. The next team is from India, Kanika and Utsav.
Using the insights from our study area, Ganjam district, Odisha, a localized inclusive strategy will be developed to respond and manage disaster, climate change, and future emergencies.
The next team is also from India, consisting of Surabhi Mehrotra and Kushlal Bihari Singha.
The suggested framework would identify disaster risk areas through public participation, spatial zonation of wetland areas for future development will be done, and lastly, the framework would build infrastructure resilience through people-centric planning processes. The fellowship would provide opportunity and financial aid to enable impactful and actionable research, which could be further applied to all wetlands at local level.
The next team is a joint team from Jamaica and Canada. They are Shika and Balfour.
The design of nature-based solutions, which can be integrated into urban expansion planning to enhance capacity of ecosystem services for water management and sustainable development. Support from the CDRI will facilitate participatory research that builds capacity for socio-economic and environmental resilience to flood-related disasters in Brandon, Manitoba.
And the last team is, but not the least, is from Ghana, Kwaku Amazing Ajay and engineer Richard Kofi Amokor.
Channelization has been the main approach to solving the perennial flooding in the Mamahoma Basin in Ghana, but has not been able to stop the floods or reduce the impact of the recurrent floods. The use of urban green spaces and detention storage has had very little attention, though it has the potential to greatly reduce flood peaks. This research will serve as a basis and evidence for the adoption of this approach in the management of floods in Ghana.
Thank you so much. So that's the new cohort. And before we wrap up, we'd like to just have a quick photo with the fellows. So please come up, Saurabh and Deepa and Dr. Hera, Dr. Vasant Matsagar. And Anil, you're also here. Please come. You're also come here. Shaili, you want to come? Please come. And there's certificates. There was. Oh, thanks so much. Thank you. So these are trees that we've planted in your name. I think everyone else has got their e-certificate. So Deepa, thank you so much. And to the ones attending online, we'll send them. Saurabh, here's yours. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Nishikal. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry it just went a little long, but thank you so much. You obliged us. Thank you so much. I'm sorry it just went. But there was so much to say. Thank you, Dr.